Corn pop, you can't stop. Oh, yeah. Hey there, AP Human Geography students. Let's learn all about population stuff, demography, people, places, the world. That's Human Geo. All right, so let's make it happen. Boom, ba boom. Let's go. All right, so here's a dot density map of the population of the world. As you can see, there's a whole lot of people in especially India. Europe seems pretty crowded. A lot of East Asia is pretty crowded. And I'll tell you, East Asia is really crowded. Then there's people sort of along the coasts of Africa, South America, North America. Europe's pretty crowded. Australia's empty. Canada's empty. So, yeah, this is just a really basic map of people in the world. Okay, so here's some starting questions. I'll just go ahead and read these. Maybe I'll create questions out of them. If there were a majority 50% of old people 65 years old in a society, what would some problems be? That's a fair question. If there were a majority of young people under 17 in a society, what problems would there be? Same as one but benefits and same as two but benefits. So I'd hope to have a student discussion on a society of young people, a society of old people. What's better? What are the challenges? Okay, and the objectives for today's lesson: the largest city in the Middle East, what stage of demographic development is most of the world today, and what stage does the population begin to decline? This stuff is importante. Let's go. Okay, so here's a map where are people being born, and then this is a map the physiological density of Earth, where people are crowded on good farm land. Both these maps are kind of important to just get an idea in your head. So people are being born. Look at the map. It's Africa. Okay, Africa's winning. There's so many babies in Africa. It's insane. Oh, whoa! What just happened there? That was not an intentional thing. Um, yeah, the amount of children in Africa is wild. When my sister was living in Uganda, she said that just like everywhere you go, there'd be like mobs and mobs of children. Okay, and then physiological density. So this is sort of comparing people to farmland in your country. And as we can see here, China, China has a whole lot of people, and they're kind of using up all their farmland. So there is sort of now this math problem of is there enough good land to grow food if your country continues to have more people? And this density is actually true in a lot of countries around the world. It's true for Colombia, it's true for Egypt, it's true for Oman, but countries where they definitely got like sort of spare farmland are our country, the United States. We're not at full farm capacity. Same with Canada, Argentina, Australia, and Russia. So we got wide open spaces up in her, and some other countries not so much. So yeah, there's the physiological density of the world. Okay, and then crude birth rates. This one I think is also one you learn in your homework, so you don't have to like double learn it from me. But I'm going to talk about it anyway. So the crude birth rate is where you take the total amount of births divided by the population times 1,000. And usually it's a number between like 1 and 50. If your crude birth rate's like 100, then oh my gosh, you're making a whole lot of people. But as we can see, the crude birth rate of the United States back in the year 1800 was 55. And the last statistics on this graph are 2010, and our crude birth rate is now 12. So, I mean, our country's still growing, but it's growing significantly less. That's just, yeah, the crude birth rate right there. And you can actually look at the graph of the crude birth rate, and you can sort of see some historical developments. Like right here, this was, World War II and the Great Depression. Right over here, this is the Vietnam War. So there's some drops in things that happened. All right, boom. All right, and where do we live? So let's look at this. This is a kind of a cool 3D dot density map of the United States. Where do people live? So the majority of, like, especially our state, and the majority of the western United States is just pretty darn empty. There's just a whole lot of forests and deserts and not a whole lot going on. But every once in a while you get a big city: Denver, Salt Lake, Vegas, hey. But look at like Los Angeles. Los Angeles, that's a whole lot of people rising up to the top there, super packed together. But it still is beaten by New York City. The total metropolitan population of New York is 18 million. And wow, New Jersey is actually the most densely populated state, the more you know. And it's interesting that in the east coast of the United States, there's just all these. people are more kind of spread out too. There's just all these like little towns and little cities that have some people living in them. But at least in Nevada, it's like we got Reno, we got Vegas, maybe Elko, but not a whole lot else. Okay. And then where do people live in Europe? Let's see if I can zoom in on this one. So there's America. Oh, here's another cool one. This is if states were the size of the amount of people living in there. This is, of course, a cartogram map. So Nevada has lost a whole lot of its size because, hey, there's only 4 million people in this state. But New Jersey is now a pretty beefy looking Jersey boy because they've got a ton of people that are just packed into New Jersey, and almost all of them like work in New York City too, which is just weird. Um, all right, so let's look at all the cities of Europe. Let's usually when we're in class, I would say, hey kids, name the cities. So London is actually really fat and kind of spread out. Paris is a lot more connected together. There's Athens right there. This is, I think, Tunis or no, it's actually that's not Tunis. Tunis would be over here. I don't know what the big city in Algeria is. Man, see, my geographer in me is just kind of weak. People in Belgium are kind of spread out all over. And then right here, this huge thing going up, this is Cairo. Oh man, Cairo in Egypt is just one of the most crowded cities on planet Earth, I think. So let's see if we can check it out. Yeah, let's talk just about Egypt and Cairo for a bit, because Egypt is a great case study when you're sort of looking at geographic population stuff. Um, Here's a map of Egypt at night, and you see how all the cities in Egypt follow along this, what sort of appears to be a road, but then when you look at Egypt during the day, you're like, oh, wait, that's a river, and the river is literally the lifeblood of this country. And the biggest part of the night lights are right here where the river starts to break into the Nile Delta, and it's the city of Cairo. So yeah, super cool. Here's the peoples of persons per square kilometer. Everybody's just packed by the rivers. Okay, like Egypt, like no one cares about Mut or Bahis or Al Qajira. These cities are just totally worthless. The cities that matter are the cities all along the Nile River. This is just where just about everybody lives, especially right here in the Giza region and by Alexandria. Everybody's just living by the river because people like water, okay? Like, look, this is what most of Egypt looks like. People don't want to live there. People want to live by a river. It's just great. But yeah, so in Egypt is another, like, let me use the term physiological density here because Egypt doesn't have any free farmland, okay? All of the good farmland would be by this river, and all the people live by this river. So I'm sure that if Egyptians were like, yo, we want to make more food, where can we make a new farm? Like, people are already living there. So if it would be sort of more environmentally conscious for people to maybe all live, I don't know, by the ocean, and then by this freshwater river, they just have all the farmers. So if I could sort of redistribute the whole population of Egypt, I would just really love to pack everybody in Al Aresh and Al Amin and Maras Murum. I'm butchering all these names. But if you just pack them all by the saltwater ocean, people generally like to live by the saltwater ocean, and then you just let farmers farm up and down the Nile, it would be a better distributed country that could dramatically improve their physiological density. And then, the other thing about Egypt, let's talk about agricultural density. This word is how many farmers actually live in your country. And I'm going to tell you this, like these are the cities right by the Nile River. The big tall rise buildings just go all the way up to the river. This would otherwise be great land to farm stuff, but people are just living there. So I'm sure the agricultural density in Egypt is actually quite low today, solely because not a lot of farming is happening by the river. People live there. So yeah, that's some serious troublesome stuff. So let's check it out. There's once again the persons per square mile of Egypt. Everyone lives by the river. And then Egypt from space. That's kind of cool. And that's most of Egypt. Egypt at night. See, once again, everyone lives by the river. Here's just how dense Cairo is. So many people live there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, my sister went to Cairo and she said never again. It's cool to see the pyramids or whatever, but so many people. such terrible city planning. We can even get into that in a later unit. But yeah, there's another picture of Cairo, and it's just so many people. And then yeah, see, they've built these suburbs and grown the city all the way to the pyramids. The pyramids are no longer kind of in the middle of the desert anymore. The growth of cityscape life has even eclipsed those pyramids. So holy cow. All right, let's talk about scale and show different results in the United States. So yeah, this is a good time to bring that up. So these are two maps that are both showing the same thing. They're both showing population change within the United States. So where there's people are coming in, maybe there's some immigration, maybe there's people being born, or maybe there's people immigrating out of the states. So this map is showing us that Wyoming is losing people. New York, Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, West Virginia. West Virginia is losing the most people. Sorry, West Virginia. And then the states that are gaining are in the dark blue. So it looks like, is Nevada the winner? Nope, Utah's beating us. Dang Utah every time. So yeah, I think we're second place though, so that's cool. So a lot of people are moving into Nevada as a percentage change to our population. That's pretty great. But then if we look at this map, it is showing the same thing, but it's just on a different scale. You see, so this scale is statewide, but this scale is by county. So if we look by county, we can see that maybe it's kind of telling us a different story. So I mean, look, still Wyoming, just about every state is either, what, 0 or negative. So Wyoming, get your act together. Stop losing all your people. West Virginia, looks like everybody's leaving. But then, like Texas, see, if you look at this map, you think, oh, Texas is doing really great as an overall state. But when you look over here, well, it looks like the cities, I think this is Dallas, Austin, and Houston. Those cities are all gaining a whole lot. But it looks like there's some cities kind of in the middle of Texas. There's some counties that are really losing a lot. So I think this map is the better map because it gives you a more detailed understanding of maybe where the big problem spots are in America. And yeah, like Montana, for example, if you look at this map, you think, oh, Montana's doing pretty great. It's 1%. Well, it's 1% along its border with Idaho, but along its border with North Dakota and South Dakota, everybody's leaving town. So yeah, this is just showing you how the scale matters, kids. So this is a statewide scale, this is a county-wide scale, and I think the county map is just more beneficial for you as geographers because you can see results more directly. Okay, cool. Let's keep moving on. Ba-bam, ba-bam. All right. Oh, man. This one, I don't think I can do justice to it in a online video. I have to map it out and I have to explain it to kids directly. But for the purposes of this video, I still want you to copy this entire graph you see on this screen here. Because first of all, this graph isn't complete. There's actually 5 stages, but to add a 5th stage doesn't take a whole lot. This graph is called the demographic transition model, and it is the most important graph you will see in this course. The demographic transition model, the DTM, it comes up in a whole lot of things. And I'll try to do this better justice in kind of an in-person lesson. But for now, copy this sucker down. Okay, maybe you're going to have to pause the video and do that, and I encourage you to. But I have sort of extra things to say about it. For example, adding a 5th stage, and I always usually write a bunch of ideas related to each stage, so maybe leave some space open in your notes. But okay, I'll do my best to explain it online. So here we go. There are 5 stages of this model. Every single country in the world can be applied to one of these 5 stages. And the stages sort of go like this. If your country is stage 1, your country is not very developed, and your country, yes, it's having a high birth rate, but it's also having a high death rate. Like your country probably doesn't have a lot of good medicine, your probably has really big political instability. And I'll tell you, back in the year 1700, every single country in the world was a stage 1 country. There was very little population growth on planet Earth. There was a whole lot of violence, a whole lot of instability, and every woman had like 6 kids, but only 2 of those kids ended up surviving in the long run. So that's why it's, a stage 1, because deaths and births are both really, really high. All right, but then the world started to change around stage 2, especially in Europe, the United States, and Japan. Uh, People still, at first, were having a whole lot of babies, but this line, the death rate started to fall because people had better agriculture, they had a lot more food, people had better medicine, that's a really good thing. Um, and by having better stability with food and medicine, people aren't dying so much. So, what results is this bulge here between these two lines, and this implies a big growth in population. And I'll tell you this, in our modern world today, there are no countries in stage 1. That's really important for a future test, by the way. No countries in stage 1. But in stage 2, there still are some stage 2 countries today. And those countries are the ones that I would think we would traditionally say are the least developed. So you'll find some stage 2 countries in developing Asia, and a whole lot of countries in sub-Saharan Africa still today are stage 2. Okay, and then we get into stage 3. So stage 3, their death rate has pretty much gone as low as it can go. Your country has full access to medicine. But in stage 3, people then start having less babies. And as you go through stage 3, you'll eventually hit this point where you're once again almost where you were in stage 1. But in stage 1, women had a ton of babies, but a ton of those babies died. And now in stage 3, very few people survive, or very few people die, but very few babies are born. And some stage 3 countries today, you'll still find some examples of that in developing Asia, but I think you'd find a lot more examples of stage 3 countries in the Middle East today. And yeah, these are countries that will have, they're probably moving on to having more developed economies. I'm thinking of countries like Vietnam, Bangladesh, and I would say about half of China is stage 3, kind of the quote worse half of China. Okay, and then we get into stage 4. Stage 4 countries are where the amount of births to deaths is also once again equal, just like it was in stage 1. And stage 4 countries have pretty flat population growth. And a great example of a stage 4 country is this one, the United States. Just about all the Western countries, well, not all, but the majority of the Western countries are stage 4, where we're just sort of at this kind of flat, flowing by way with how we're having births to deaths. Also, these stage 4 countries have a whole lot of development, a whole lot of health care. Stage 4 is pretty great, okay? Like here, I've already given away the answer. Stage 4 is where you want to be. Okay, and then, this is not on the graph, this is something I'll have to explain and add later. There is a stage 5. And stage 5 is when so few people are actually having babies that your birth rate or your population increase goes negative. And that's really bad, because if your country isn't making enough babies to make up for the people who die, then over time, your population will continually lose people, and eventually you can make a pretty accurate prediction that your country will go extinct. And that would really suck, okay? So, not great. Okay, and then something I definitely have to add, that I can show you how to visualize all these stages in pyramid form too. And I know you're probably right now confused what that means, but I'll do my best to make that connection in a live class as well. Okay, so let's also talk about life expectancy and birth rate. So the birth rate is really high at stage 1, 2, and at the very beginning of stage 3. The birth rate is super low at the end of stage 3, stage 4, and stage 5. Life expectancy sucks in stages 1 and stage 2, but life expectancy is great in stage 3, 4, 5. So generally the big difference in your country's development happens at stage 3. And I think most countries in the world today are somewhere in between stage 3. And if the whole world was at stage 4, well, the world would be just great. Everybody would just chilling. So cool. All right, there's all these models. Make sure you have this in your notes. And okay, so yeah, the word demographic. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the lesson, but I want to make it super clear. Demographic means anything related to population. The root words here, demos, people, and graph, written or record. Makes sense. That's what this whole unit's about. Demography, people. Great. Population. Cool. All right, I'm moving on. Oh, actually, let me look at this. Shifting demographics in Clark County. Hey, looks like 43% of the people here are Latino, 12% are black, 31% are white, 8% are Asian Pacific Islander, 8% are two or more races. That's cool. I always like to see where kids stand in their own demographics. Um, but when we get older in our society, only 12% of people are Latino, 67% are white. So, yeah, it's interesting you see how the age range changes, then the demographics of our city also change. So, there's a whole lot of young Hispanic people, but a whole lot of old white people. So, yeah, interesting stuff. All right, moving on. Ba boom. Okay, so name the stage of the demographic transition model according to the pyramid. All right. This is something I think I could show a whole lot better on a whiteboard, but I'll just tell you the answers here. These are called population pyramids, and population pyramids are always going to be set up in the same way, where on the right side is female, on the left side is male, and wherever these bars go along these charts here show you what percentage of your population is in which age group and which gender. So as we can see here, this is Italy in 2010, and it looks like all these charts are basically the same on both sides. They're basically mirrors of each other, but maybe it is different once you get around here. Um, yeah, like for example, at the 85 scale, there's a whole lot of 85 women. Maybe this is what, 0.8% of the population are within the age range of 85 to 90, and only 0.3% of the population is old men. And it's true, women live longer, kids. It's a tough reality I've had to face. I'm gonna die before a lady does. Um, and yeah, so otherwise things are pretty balanced, which is great. Okay, and usually people break up population pyramids into three zones. You look at the zone from 0 to 20, you call that young people. You look at the zone from 20 to 60, you call that working age people. And then you look at 60 to 100. And, well, sometimes they even go above 100. So, which chunk has the most percentage of the population? Well, the answer is the middle. And this is overall a good thing. You want this to happen in your population pyramid. You want most people in your country to be kind of working, productive age. And when you think about it, okay, which population pyramid had kind of a stage, or which stage in the demographic transition model talked about where your country's kind of stable, where your economy's good, where there's a lot of people who can work. So Italy is a good example of stage 4. And any pyramid that looks like this, where the biggest chunks are in the middle, will be a stage 4 pyramid. You can hold me accountable to that. All right, now let's look at this one. Does this one even have a country listed on it? Not really. Okay, so this one, I think the bigger chunk is actually near the bottom. Okay, so this one's different. It has a good amount of people in the middle too, but more people here at the bottom. Not like almost nobody in this country is old. So if this country doesn't have a lot of people surviving to their older age, and most people are young, I'm gonna say this country is probably stage 2, maybe a stage 3. But remember, you're not gonna see an example of stage 1. Maybe I made an invisible stage 1 country, but you're probably never really going to use stage 1. I'm going to say, look, right now, all these babies, oh my goodness, all these little kids, I immediately just look at the bottom of these graphs being so full in the first couple stages. I think it's got to be a stage 2 country every time. And then, oh, Latvia, whoa. So they have almost no kids. They have a pretty weak amount of people in their working ages. But then once we get to 60 and above, it's just packed full of grandmas and grandpas. So Latvia, you are a stage 5 country. And over time, these people will eventually get older and older and older. They'll die. You'll have less kids. Latvia, you will go extinct. Figure it out. Solve your problems. All right. So I can do more stuff with pyramids in person too. All right, but boom, these are all those charts that I just talked about. Population pyramids, hooray. Oh yeah, DTM and population pyramids. So here's another thing that you saw earlier. Um, I don't know if I agree with these example countries though. I think this is an older chart, and some of these countries have moved up. But oh yeah, here they got the stage 5 for you in this one. So stage 5 is when the birth rate is now below the death rate. And this thing happening in the middle right here, these are, your country's losing population every year. And I see. I also don't agree with this version of their population pyramid for stage 5, because stage 5, the big chunk should be at the top, not at the bottom. This is wrong. So that's why I like to do this on the whiteboard in person. Okay, here, what are we doing? Okay, guess the country. So when reading the pyramids, look at the kids, look at the people in the middle, look at the old people, write the stage. Okay, so I hope you all recognize that stage 2, there's a whole lot of population at the bottom of that pyramid, so that's got to be a stage 2 country. Like that should be an easy thing to look at. And then with number 3, that should be a country where there's a whole lot of old people, so I'm going to say stage 5. And then number 1, it looks like most of the people are in the middle. There's not a whole lot of older people either, so that's probably a 3 or a 4. And this is where it can get challenging sometimes. I'm going to officially call number 1 a 4, but I might be wrong. Let's see. And let's also guess a country specifically. So I do want you to learn some examples of countries. Stage 2 is going to be almost any sub-Saharan African country. Stage 5, Japan, Latvia, Russia. Stage 4, America, Canada, a whole lot of Western countries, UK, France, Germany. And then stage 3 is where it gets kind of tough, but I would say like countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam, kind of countries that are kind of rising up the ladder here. So let's see what my answers were. All right, 1, 2, 3, and the answers were, UK, Mozambique, Japan. See, I was right. It was a stage 4. Look at Mr. Brown. I remember stuff. Mozambique, yep, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Japan, the classic stage 5. Cool. All right, so yeah, population pyramids can also show you specific cities, and if you look at population pyramids, you might be able to make some sort of predictions or analysis of that city just by kind of analyzing these pyramid charts. So let's check these out. Okay, so these ones, looks like this is kind of a city with a whole lot of people who work a lot. This city's pretty balanced. This city's pretty balanced. This one, there's a lot more kids. This one's pretty balanced. But then this one, let's look at this. Unalaska, Alaska. Such a huge percentage of the population is all male between the ages of 24 and 60. I'm gonna say that this city is probably an oil town, and they probably have a lot of working age men immigrate there and do a lot of hard work. It's probably a lot of like physical labor kind of work, and it makes sense. If you're way out there at some island in Alaska, you're probably got like an oil field nearby or something, and that tends to be more of a male-dominated work field. Okay, what do we got here? This one is a city in Kansas or something, Lawrence, Kansas. Yep, and huge batches of people are between the ages of, looks like 18 and 24 on both gender charts. So I'm going to say this is a place where there's a really popular university, and I'm right. It's Lawrence, Kansas. That's the city with the University of Kansas. So it makes sense that a big chunk of the population there are college-age kids who are going there to study and probably have a big old party. So, hey, there you go. So just by looking at the pyramid, you can tell me things about the city. And then this one, Naples, Florida. Oh my God, there are no children or young people in the city. Everybody's like 60 or older. So in Naples, Florida, I gotta say this town must be some kind of a retirement community. There must be a bunch of old people homes and people playing bridge and I don't know, whatever old people do. Laredo, Texas, this seems to be a city with a whole lot of kids, and this is right along the border and probably a very Hispanic dominated town where just they still got big families going on. So okay, that's some population pyramid analysis right there for you. Here's some other stuff here. So this is selected Dallas areas. Wow, so they even broke down certain regions of the city of Dallas and just figured out some special population pyramid areas. So this part of Dallas, there's basically no kids, but a whole lot of people in working age. So this must be maybe an area near like the downtown where like there's a lot of really expensive apartments. Um, and then let's see if we can find another one. So one of these is uh, the affluent suburb. Okay, the concentration of gay male households. Where's all the gay dudes at? Oh, it's probably this one. Yeah, look at all these. There's a significantly bigger amount of men than women right there. Um, and then high poverty, One Arts Plaza retirement community. So which this has got to be the retirement community. And then yeah. So anyway, a lot of cool stuff. All right. And then which stage the demographic transition model? Okay, so let's play this game. So just based on what I taught you about the demographic transition model, what stage is the world in, or what stage is your country in just by looking at these pictures? Well, you're in stage one, okay? You're like super in the past. A whole lot of people are dying from plague-based diseases. People are having trouble with food security. They're farming it by hand. People's medicine generally sucks. So this is a stage one example. Stage one, yeah, look at that. All right, and then look at these pictures. So what do we got here? We got some families. The family has 2 kids. Yeah, every family has 2 kids. So if every family only has 2 kids, what's going to happen to your population in the long run? Your population is going to stay stable. So this has got to be stage 4. Boom, look at that. I was right. Okay, and then here we go. We got find a cure, so they're curing medicine. A lot of people are now working in cities. Families are still really big. Look at this family. How many kids they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 kids. Good God, they have so many kids. They're working them in the factories. So this has got to be stage 2. Yeah, stage 2. Get it. All right, and then what do we got here? We got a family who's having more than 2 kids. This is like the 1950s. Women are starting to stay at home. Society's starting to change. So this has got to be stage 3. Stage 3. And the last one, retirement village, Japan's independent kids. Everyone's super duper old. Young people not having sex. Oh, that's unfortunate. It's stage 5. There you go. Okay, so, oh, I got this Play-Doh activity. Too bad I can't do that in an online setting where you'd use Play-Doh to make, show me the distribution of people around the world. So you sort of like make a world map, kind of looks like this, where it's just like India is super duper packed. Alternatively, I would give you like a map of the world, and then you just sort of stack up Play-Doh based on where people live. So there'd just kind of be this giant Play-Doh tower in India, South Asia, and China. So that's a kind of a cool 3D visual of where people live on planet Earth. All right, good old playing with Play-Doh in school. I remember that. That was fun. Um, I'm gonna skip all this. Yeah, see, this is the Play-Doh stuff. Okay, and then yeah, this will be for the next video. All right, peace out.